Hey guys, it's Libby, and if you've dealt with any sort of mental health struggles, you might be wondering what the process of getting a diagnosis is like. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about that today, but first I just want to say that today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's in just a couple days. So today's video is in honor of that, and again, sponsored by BetterHelp. May is a month to raise awareness for mental health, to eliminate the stigma, and to support people who are struggling. But really, every month is that month. I'm not gonna lie. Another important thing about mental health awareness is increasing the access of mental health services to people, and BetterHelp is on that mission. BetterHelp offers therapy through phone, through video chat, and through live type chat. And all of those options really help to increase the accessibility of therapy. Additionally, BetterHelp is often more affordable than other therapy options that are out there. Additionally, you can apply for financial aid while you're signing up for BetterHelp, and they accept HSA benefits. If you would like 10% off your first month, I've got that link down in the description, so definitely sign up with that link if you want that discount. But anyways, let's talk about diagnosis of mental health conditions. So first things first, you can find all the potential diagnoses out there in the DSM-5. So the DSM-5 stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders in its 5th edition. However, they are coming out with a new revision of that 5th edition here soon, or maybe they already did, but there is a new one that'll have some slight changes made. So if you're struggling with your mental health, you might end up receiving a mental health diagnosis, whether that's from a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a therapist, a counselor, or just your regular primary care doctor. In order to bill insurance, you need to have a diagnosis set. So when you first meet with a new therapist or, a psychiatrist about your problems, they're likely to give you a diagnosis that day. That way they can bill you for insurance. That said, that diagnosis might not stick with you as that practitioner gains more information and makes a different sort of assessment or judgment on your case. Your first diagnosis isn't necessarily going to be the last one you get. It's not necessarily going to be the most accurate one you get. It might just be a starting point. And even then, maybe it is the most accurate diagnosis for you at that moment, but maybe things will change over time and you'll change diagnoses. Not all diagnoses are commonly changed, but some diagnoses are time-bound. For example, you can't be diagnosed with schizophrenia unless you've had it for a specific amount of time. So if you have symptoms for less than that amount of time, then you will get a different diagnosis. And then when you cross that threshold of the amount of time, you will get the schizophrenia diagnosis. Additionally, when it comes to anorexia, there is the diagnosis of anorexia nervosa, which is bound partially by your physical body's condition, specifically your weight. If you were to not meet that weight criteria, or maybe you did and then later you restored your weight back to a healthy weight and you no longer met that weight criteria, you would have the diagnosis of atypical anorexia. That all said, don't cling to these diagnoses. They're just labels, they're just words, they can change, and they don't define who you are as a person. In fact, I wasn't ever even told what my diagnoses officially were until I asked, because it's not necessarily helpful information to know the exact label of what you're dealing with, because then maybe you look things up and then you learn misinformation, or you start over-identifying with things that aren't there for you. There's all kinds of different implications of learning your label, and I'm not saying that it's necessarily bad to know what you're diagnosed with. Of course, it can be very helpful and very good, but it's not always a necessary step in the process to be informed of what your diagnoses are. Like I said though, when a mental health professional first meets you, they do need to bill insurance if that's the way you're paying, so they might have to come up with a diagnosis for you that day. However, as sessions go on, as time goes on, they're going to learn more information about you and what you're going through that might help them make a more accurate diagnosis of what's going on. The fact that that first or second or whatever diagnosis that you got changed doesn't mean that the mental health provider was incompetent or wrong or stupid or anything like that. It's just that now there's different information out there that might indicate something else, or maybe things have changed. So just don't make any assumptions about your mental health provider about that kind of thing. If you want to have a conversation about that with them, more than free to go do that, but just keep that in mind. Something else I want to mention is that when getting a mental health diagnosis, it might be preceded by some physical health ruling out things. Like I mentioned, when it comes to eating disorder diagnoses, sometimes weight is a criteria that needs to be met in order to meet a specific disorder's criteria to get that diagnosis. That said, when it comes to eating disorders, I don't care what you weigh. You're struggling just as much as anyone else. I don't like that there's a separate diagnosis depending on what your weight is at. I think that is beyond stupid, believe me. But that's just something that might happen if that's the kind of diagnosis that is coming for you. Additionally though, you might have to get things done like blood tests. I know I had to get blood tests to check about my fatigue, to see if my fatigue was something like physical health related or something more mental health related. It is not uncommon for a mental health provider to rule out a physical health condition before they go ahead and make a diagnosis for you that is a mental health related diagnosis. That's extremely common and really an ethical thing to do. So you might be wondering, why is it important to get a diagnosis? Like I said at the beginning, it does not define you. It does not make your problems more or less real. Your problems are what they are. Your struggles are just as valid no matter what anybody tells you. Your experience is your experience. But getting a diagnosis can be really affirming and validating for people who are really confused about what's going on with them, who feel really lost, who don't know why they are the way they are, why they're struggling the way they are. You know, just having a label can really help some people to accept where they are. Additionally, some people might go ahead and do some research about it, and that can be helpful to an extent, but at the same time, sometimes people go down a wormhole to where it's not helpful anymore. So, you know, that's a good and bad part. However, if you do have a diagnosis, you can do research on what kind of treatment options are offered and, you know, maybe look into the research on them to see like what feels like a good fit to you, see what you're interested in trying. And that can be really helpful for people again. The last thing I want to talk about is, what if you don't agree with the diagnosis you were given? The first thing I want to say is understand that the person who gave it to you is a mental health professional. They have gone through extensive education and training to learn all about mental illnesses and what they look like, and they're probably serving you to the best of their abilities based on the information that they were given. Remember that no matter how much research you do online, you are not the mental health professional, unless you actually are one too. But then I don't know why you'd be watching this video. Anyways, if you still don't feel great about what they diagnosed you with, have that conversation with them. Consider how much you feel like the mental health professional is listening to you, how well they're understanding you, how they're talking about this issue with you. Do they feel dismissive, or are they asking you a lot of great questions? Are they answering your questions? Are they understanding your goals and what you want for your treatment? All of those things are really important to consider when judging whether not only does the diagnosis feel right to you, but does that mental health professional feel right to you? You know, if you don't feel like you're being heard, if you don't feel like you're being respected, if you feel like they're dismissing you or something, you know, maybe it's not a great fit. And that's okay. You know, there's plenty of mental health professionals out there in the world, and if you're looking for some, BetterHelp is a great place. But it is okay to go out and seek a second opinion. However, I say before you do that, I really think it's a great idea to have that open and honest conversation with the mental health provider. So say you don't agree with your diagnosis, I say you sit down with that practitioner, talk to them about it, tell them what feels wrong to you, tell them maybe what feels right about it. Maybe they're missing information from you. Maybe you can fill them in on some more things that might clarify a little better. And during that conversation, they can explain to you what they're seeing and why they made the decision that they did with that diagnosis. That all said, I hope that this video was really informative and helpful. If you're interested in knowing more, if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram or ask me some questions down in the comments. I would love to help out in any way I can. I am about to graduate with my master's in social work with a concentration in mental health. I've got a job as a therapist. I'm not well seasoned in the field or anything yet, but you know, I do have a good base of knowledge that hopefully can be helpful to anybody who's got questions. But that's all I got for you. Again, if you want to sign up with BetterHelp with 10% off your first month, that link will be down below in the description. I definitely recommend checking it out if you're looking for a therapist to be more of a telehealth online thing. So that's all I got for you. I hope you guys have a great day, and talk to you later. Bye.